move on to question number 4. This is interesting. Who really is this Pope Francis? We want to understand this. We want to unpack this a little more. Does he bear the fruits of Christ? He help those in need? Does he desire peace? Does he speak the truth? Let's find out together. We look at this. Who is Pope Francis? Well, Pope Francis he said in April 18, 2015, that the orderly development of a civil pluralistic society, it requires that the authentic spirit of religion not be defined personal conscience, but that its significant role in the construction of society recognized. This is the common good. Pope Francis, the little horn's always willing to eliminate personal conscience for the common good of society. This much you will see in these messages. Let's look at another one. Who is Pope Francis? January 24, 2019, Catholic Herald.co.uk says, Pope Francis, he has followed a similar path to Pius IV. But who is Pope Pius IV? Well, Pope Pius IV, in his encyclical, his letter of August 15, 1854, December 1864, it said the following. This is who Pope Francis is compared to. The absurd and erroneous doctrines or ravings in defense of liberty of conscience are a most pestilential error. Pest of all others, most to be dreaded. 8. He anathematized those who assert liberty of conscience and religious worship. All such as maintain that the Church may not employ force. This is what Pope Pius said. Those folks that enjoy the First Amendment in the Constitution, freedom of religion, or Congress, will make no law respecting an established religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. While these kings, the Vatican, little horns, the Vatican clearly applies these privileges we have, these freedoms, as you can plainly see here. Let's look at another quote. This is a pioneer of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. April 27, 1842, Joshua Himes says the following. The movements of the Protestant Church in the early part of this century alarmed the Roman pontiff, Pius VII, and induced him in 1814 to restore the Jesuit order to their former privileges and call upon papists to afford them protection and all assistance, something to recognize. The Jesuit order was restored. The popes, they do not appreciate freedom's religion, which is why the Jesuit order had to be restored in 1814. Look a little more about this Jesuit Pope Francis. March 16, 2013, Rome reports said, Francis, the first Jesuit Pope ever. Pope Clement XIV suppressed the Society of Jesus, Jesuits, in 1773. The Jesuits ceased to exist for 41 years. Then, like we saw in 1844, the Jesuit Society was restored, thanks to Pope Pius XII. Now, this is key today, Francis said. He says, I was told that I should choose the same name, Clement, the next Clement, 15th. And I asked why, which told me. He said that way you can take revenge of Clement XIV's suppression of the Society of Jesus in 1773. Finally, 200 years after that suppression, the Church has its first Jesuit Pope, Francis. End quote. See, this is who Pope Francis is. Now listen very closely to the next few quotes. This is one of many critical points in this message I want you to read. March 16, 2013, Pope Francis, he actually chose the name Francis specifically, saying, Cardinal Hughes embraced me. He kissed me. He said, Don't forget the poor, Bergoglio. Do not forget the poor. And that struck me, Francis said. Poor. Immediately, I thought of St. Francis, Assisi. Francis was a man of peace, man of poverty, a man who loved and protected creation. That's Rome reports. See, you and I are being given a message. That message, clear. The little horn may come. He has begun his conquest. Again. But who was that St. Francis of Assisi? Just read about him. Was St. Francis a comparable man to our current Pope? Let's look and see how they compare. July 13, 2018. Father Friar Rohr, he says about St. Francis. Francis of Assisi, 1182 to 1226, was a non-violent and soft prophet. And when Western civilization was moving into consumerism, non-stop war, Francis himself was a soldier. His father, a wealthy clothier. He was able to offer a positive take on the way of living. His radical message and lifestyle were a warning about what money, power, war were about to do on a much larger scale. St. Francis, not Pope Francis. Francis, he refused to be a user of life's realities, buying, selling, for personal advantage. He granted personal subjectivity to the earth, sun, moon, the wind, the animals, and even death, by addressing them brother, sister. Like Jesus, Francis was a non-exclusionary bridge builder, another key word. He wanted Christians to carry the gospel of peace, Islamic world, exactly what's happening right now, and not to take up weapons. St. Francis tried to point us beyond the mere production, consumption, and economy. Now, do both St. Francis, Pope Francis sound very similar? Yes, that's the point. But how similar? Well, here's how a Jesuit professor summed it up about Pope Francis and the Laudato Si encyclical. The professor said in April 26, 2019, says, the Echo encyclical could pave the way for a Green New Deal. We must also celebrate rest, especially from buying and selling, by returning to a focus on the keeping Sabbath, Sunday, as it did in the days of St. Francis, we're just reading about. This kind of conversion can restore ecological equilibrium, establishing harmony within ourselves, with others, and with nature, with all living creatures, and with God himself. Now see, he's simply following the Jesuit script given by the Jesuit general. Now this Sunday solution will be pushed for the next decade, according to Francis and the Black Pope, Superior General. And don't forget what God told us about Little Horn's mark. It's a very important situation. We have to understand these things about the mark of the beast. Revelation 13:17 says, "Them that receive the mark of the beast worshipped that no man might buy or sell, unless he has the mark of worship." That's what we just read. The Jesuit, St. Francis, now the Pope. October 9, 2019, during a Vatican Senate hearing on the Amazon. They said, the future of the Amazon, which is a living reality and not a museum, is in our hand. A proposal was made to deepen the ecological reading. Now, that includes, along with traditionally recognized sins, to include ecological sins. Forget that. So alongside the transgression of the biblical laws, the Vatican wants to include ecological sins, environmental sins. Do you know that means for you and me? Every Catholic everywhere would have to abide by these new eco-laws, Catholic eco-laws. Sunday rest would be inevitable. Protestants, all humanity, soon follow. And as the Vatican councils, hard at work, are they not? We hard at work, that hard? Messengers, vast councils were held from time to time, in which the dignitaries of the church they would convene from all over the world. In nearly every council, Sabbath, which God had instituted, pressed down, or go lower, while the Sunday correspondingly exalted. Thus the pagan festival became finally to be honored as a divine institution. All while the unsuspecting masses are indoctrinated slowly with while the truth is suffocating out of existence. So finally, generations later, the masses believe a new truth. And they have a new reality, Catholic reality. Now let us examine another question. Question number 5.
Keep watching for the next video in this series.